The horrific visuals of the plane crash of Azerbaijan Airlines near Aktau in Kazakhstan have been brought to the public by survivors' harrowing video footage captured right before the incident. The video, recorded from inside the damaged cabin of flight J28243, captured the aftermath of the crash. The video shows passengers struggling to escape the wreckage of the flight. The footage shows the immediate aftermath of the plane crashing on ground, with one surviving passenger trying to exit the wreckage. The Embraer 190 jet was carrying 62 passengers and 5 crew members from Baku to Grozny. The flight reportedly deviated hundreds of miles from its planned route before crashing on the eastern shore of the Caspian Sea. According to the Kazakh authorities, 32 passengers have survived. The chilling video footage recorded the cries of passengers from inside the plane while the plane descended to its fatality. Immediately after the incident, Azerbaijan Airlines promptly halted all flights to Grozny in Chechnya in Russia. The airline company has launched a full-scale investigation now into the crash. The airline company has launched a full-scale investigation now into the crash, as government commission has been made to lead the investigation. According to the preliminary findings released by Russia's aviation watchdog, the crash likely happened due to a bird strike.
Люди упали. Самолет разбился. Самолет упал. Куда?
Martin joining us on the show. Mark, good to talk to you. It's been a while. A very tragic accident there happening in Aktau. What exactly were the cause and what has the Kazakh authority determined?
Good morning, Shweta. Happy holidays, everybody, and stay safe, fly safe. I think the first up, we need to be very clear that the evidence that has to be taken from this aircraft is and will always be the cockpit voice recorder and the DFDR, or the flight data recorder, or commonly called the black box. It is imperative, and that's crucial, that the right investigating agencies obviously get hold of those two devices or components. We have to be very clear that Azerbaijan Airlines has always had a very good safety record. They've been flying for a very long time. The aircraft are reliable. They fly new aircraft. The Embraer 195 and the 190 they've been flying are extremely reliable aircraft and quite efficient in their own merit. From what we know so far, I think everybody across the world is trying to speculate. There've been videos of gunshots. There've been videos of missile. Everyone's talking about shrapnel, but we have to establish what was going inside between the crew, the communication with ATC, and the flight profile, because that itself will reveal everything. And we have to respect the dead. Right now, we're dealing with losses. The crew is no more. The flight attendants are no more. And I think speculation needs to stop till we've established the real cause of this crash. It's not a bird strike. Bird strike never occurs at such a high altitude. And the other part is that even if there is a mistaken identity where enemy forces or friendly forces have fired on this aircraft, then that has to be established in the investigation. I'm not ruling out similarities with MH17. I'm not ruling out any commonalities with any prior crash, because Grozny and Chechnya have always been traditionally conflict zones. And with the current level of sudden surge in conflict between Russia and Ukraine and an overall destabilization of the region, it's anybody's guess as to what emerges as the cause. But all I'm going to say, Shweta, is that we should not speculate. Let's respect the dead. And investigation in this should immediately commence. And I would really like the European Aviation Safety Agency to take a part into this investigation. Some of these countries don't have the broader capability of investigating such a complex crash, and therefore external support and help is needed.
All right, help and support is needed. We're given to understand that Azerbaijan airline crash in Kazakhstan, the authorities are trying to determine the cause. Mark, has there been any discovery of the black box so far? What do we know? And you're right, we must not speculate. There are various theories there of floating in, but you suggest that there cannot be a bird hit at that altitude?
At that height, because if you're descending from what your cruising altitude coming down to about 20,000 feet, it's seldom you'll find a bird flying at that high altitude. Usually bird activity is up to 10,000 feet at the most, especially in urban populated areas or in those regions. And the second part is that by now the DFDR or the black box and the cockpit voice recorder should have been recovered, and by now they should be safe and secure for pending further investigation. Um, we are in a holiday season. We are in a phase where pretty much the whole of Europe is shut down. So it'll be impossible to get anybody out of their zone to investigate this. But I think the faster we do and put this on the utmost priority, we're not getting anywhere, because um, from all that we're seeing so far, we've just been seeing statements being changed repeatedly. And this shows, in a sense, somebody or somewhere is trying to deflect this, counter this, and that has to stop. I think fundamentally we need to go into the DFDR and see where to establish exactly what's going wrong.
All right, and while we're awaiting clarity on that, Mark, also want to understand from you, we do know that the plane was en route Grozny, Chechnya. If there were to be a possibility of the plane really landing in Grozny, do you think an accident of this nature could have been averted?
If you look at the video, even if he was near the airport, clearly the pilot has lost complete control of the aircraft. He was not able to control the descent. He was not able to control the flight maneuver. He wasn't able to recover from the turn, from whatever that we're seeing from the video. And this shows that clearly something catastrophic has happened with the aircraft. Something has fundamentally been structured going wrong with the aircraft. And unless the faster we start the investigation, we're not going to get anywhere, because Shweta, it's a painstaking process. You need to reconstruct, recreate the whole aircraft with the wreckage in a hangar. We need to look at which part broke
But I
first,
was about to come to
what part
that.
structure.
Absolutely. I was about to come to that. How difficult is the process of really trying to establish what went wrong? Now, we've seen a lot of aviation accidents in the past, Mark, which have never been resolved. Planes have disappeared. And we're living in such times of uncertainty as far as civil aviation is concerned. I want to understand from you, what does the process really entail on ground, and how long will the investigation carry on to really determine the cause of that accident?
So we're going to be very clear. I think first up, there's a insanely uncouth and bad practice with most investigations, and that is, if the pilot's dead, it's pilot error. If the pilot's alive, oh, it's a technical problem. And this has to stop. In this case, in the case of Azerbaijan, the Embraer 195 crash we saw yesterday, clearly from the video footage we've seen and from what's there, you may get a quick fix initial overview as to what happened from the CVR and the DFDR, but that's only one side of the story, Shweta. The other side of the story is it's going to be a painstaking process to recreate all the aircraft with all the broken parts in a hangar, recreate it again to figure what part failed, which had a catastrophic failure, what part just stopped working that led to the aircraft being completely out of control and not controllable. So all of those have to actually come together. Now, Azerbaijan, that's one area that I've flown in. I've flown into Baku several times because Baku and Georgia are neighbor. Azerbaijan and Georgia are neighbors. So generally, that region is very, very peaceful. And there's never been any major incident in Azerbaijan in an insane long while, because the government invests in new aircraft and reliable aircraft. So clearly there has been Something has gone wrong here, and this needs to be fixed.